Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 123 of the Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. It's been a little bit. I think it's been over a month since I did a podcast, but today's episode we're going to talk about if law of attraction works, why do bad people have money and good things? So, I have been asked that question a lot, and it really points to a common misunderstanding of what Abraham Hicks says and other law of attraction people say, that if you have to feel good, or which we sometimes hear as we have to be good in order to attract what we want, to manifest what we want. So mostly I'm doing this podcast for people who have defined, just a little human design insert, people who have defined ajnas, third eye, and also people who have defined crown or head centers. Once they hear something or learn something, it can be really hard to flex that and change it. So it's a little, I've heard it described as, and I agree with this, you learn a bunch of stuff and it goes in a file drawer and then you slam the drawer. And you always have it. It's easy to access it. It's not as easy to change it. I really struggled with this when I was learning the quantum human design language, which I love and prefer, but I had already learned the traditional human design language. So opening that file cabinet and adding in the quantum human design language, which is far more empowering and also is still true to the essence of the source material, was really hard, like really hard. So we hear what we can hear when we can hear it, and that's all fine. So the point of me putting this out there is if your brain or your life is in a place where you can hear a little something different, I want this to be available. So we tangle, and this is normal. All of this is normal. We see the world through a lens or a perspective of good and bad. We have morality judgments because we were taught from a very early age, this is good, this is bad, don't be bad, be good. You're being bad, you need to be good. Or you're too good, maybe you need to be a little bad. We have it tangled up. So for some of us, people who ask this question a lot is, how does a terrible person, a person who does terrible things, how do they have all these things I consider good, like money and luxury and, private airplanes or whatever? Which, by the way, can you imagine? I've never been on a private airplane, other than like a Cessna, a little too. Let me say, I've never been on a private jet. That's what I mean, like a luxury jet. I can't imagine how wonderful it would be to fly to Paris on a private jet. So I'm just putting that out there as a dream goal. Private jet to Paris. Wouldn't that be awesome? So how do bad people do that? How do they have all this cool stuff? Well, when we hear that emotions have a frequency, there's no morality in wherever you're at. So Abraham Hicks, talks a lot about the emotional scale. Super useful tool if you understand that it's a literal frequency, not a good or bad. As in, if you're down at, I should probably have that scale in front of me. I don't have it. I think it's goes from 1 to 22. I've been listening to them since the 90s. I actually got to meet them once at a Unity church in early 1995, maybe. Super cool. Really respect her. By the way, Esther Hicks is a projector, so there's that. That's cool. Anyway, this emotional scale is, we think if we're down in the dumps, way down at the bottom of 22, that we're bad and we're not going to get our stuff. We're not going to get our stuff because we're angry, we're resentful, we're bitter, we're sad, we're depressed, whatever. And so many times I'll hear people say, or clients will say or ask, I've been so depressed now I'm not going to get anything. I'm not going to get any of my goals achieved because I've been so depressed. I've just got to get undepressed. I have to stop being sad so I can start receiving. And that never works. And in fact, that drags your sad out even longer. So you can take sad and throw it in a closet and slam the door on it and refuse to look at it and refuse to see it, feel it, know it. It doesn't make sad go away. It's still in your energy. So you're still down at the bottom of that emotional scale, but you're pretending that you're not. You're pretending that you're up at 1, 2, 3, or 4, which is like joy and happiness. You can Google it if you've never seen it, which would be surprising if you're listening to this podcast. But just in case, if you've never seen it, just Google Esther Hicks emotional scale. We can't banish the low end of the scale energies. We are designed to have a very broad and varied experience with emotional energies. Now, those of you who've listened for a while know I love the river analogy for that. In a river, a big broad river, there are multiple temperatures, multiple currents, multiple levels. Up at the top, more light; down at the bottom, darker, slower, colder. Up at the top, warmer, lighter. But neither one is good or bad, and it's all the same river. If you're in the middle of the river, the current's usually going faster. If you're toward the banks of the river, it's a little slower because it's being, dragged down by the rocks and the river banks and whatnot. That's not always true, but just roll with me here. But there's no good or bad. You're in the middle of the river flowing fast, or you're over on the banks where it's a little more shallow and a little slower. You're at the top of the river where there's lots of light, or you're down at the bottom of the river where it's darker and cooler temperatures. Okay, that's not good or bad. You're not a good or bad person. Wherever you're on that scale, your worthiness is not a topic that's connected to this. Your goodness or badness is not a topic. It's not a thing. It's a cultural thing that we impose on each other, and it's not bad. We want to think of murdering each other as a bad thing. Like, we don't want to throw everything out here, but we want to understand where we're at. So why do bad people have so much stuff? They're in resonance with it. The key word we want to look at is resonance. Are you in resonance with the quality of the energy of money, or the deva of money, or the angel of money, or wealth, the world of wealth, however you conceptualize it? Are you in resonance with health, dynamic life? Well, I'll tell you, if you're not aware of how your nervous system is functioning, you're not likely to be in resonance with as healthy as you could be, because you don't know that you are hitting the brakes all the time. Your energy comes up and you hit the brakes. This is complex, right? So I'm just going to use money for this example because so many people struggle with money, including myself. And, but this applies to anything, health, relationships, whatever. It's resonance. You're in resonance with it or you're not. You're up in sync with it or you're not. You're not a good person or a bad person. It's just that when you're down at that bottom end of that emotional scale, or at the deep parts of the river where it's colder, slower, darker, you're not in resonance with the top of the water, right? Fish come up to the top of the water. That's where the food is. It's warmer, lighter. Food falls on the water. Algae grows. Bugs come on the top of the water. So they have to leave the bottom, unless they're bottom feeders, which are gross. But they come up to the top to get the food. So you can even think of it that way. The food's not at the bottom for a lot of fish. They have to go up to the top to get it. That doesn't make them bad if they want to hang out on the bottom of the river. It's just they're not going to get any food there because the food's at the top. It's resonance. It's not morality. Bad people air quote bad because whatever. We have all the things they want because they're having fun. I've hung out with some multimillionaire people, and I've worked with some multimillionaire men who had friends. Their friend group outside of work was multi-billionaire developers in Colorado. So these people love money. They love it. They're fast moving. They're dynamic. They're obsessed with the numbers. They absolutely view it as a game. How it impacts people doesn't really factor in. So we would call that bad. You're a bad person because you're not considering the environmental impact, the social impact, the impact to the community of building that super Walmart or that gigantic outdoor mall, which I can't remember, which is in Loveland, Colorado, or around in there. I can't remember where it's at. Anyway, they don't care about that. They don't care about it. They only care about it if it's going to interfere with their development plans or schedule and how it's going to affect their bottom line monetarily. But they absolutely love talking about money. They talk about it, they think about it, they dream about it, and they want to win, which is more, right? You got to have the most if you're going to win. You got to make the Forbes list if you're going to win. They love it. They enjoy it. It's joyful for them, which means what? They're at the top of the scale. They're resonant with the fast, dynamic energy that money is. It's fast. Joy, happiness, fast. Love, super fast. If you can't tolerate fast-moving energies in your body because of how your nervous system has been wired, and this is fixable, it's easy to fix. It just requires diligence and dedication and commitment to daily practice. Duh. I mean, blah, 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 broken record, Michelle. But if you can't tolerate that fast-flowing energy, you will hit the brakes. You'll hit the brakes by thinking negatively. You'll hit the brakes by comparing yourself to others. How come he does that and gets all the money and I do the same thing and I don't get the money? You hit the brakes by judging. People with all that money they have to be bad people. Who would have all that money? Who wouldn't consider the environment? They're bad. Well, you're not going to have money if you think people with money are bad. So there's all these ways we hit the brakes. We hit the brakes through addiction, scrolling on internet, not taking responsibility for what's going on in our head, not taking responsibility for taking care of our body, reaching for sugar, alcohol, never eating a vegetable, never taking a walk. There's a million ways we hit the brakes so that we stay in our familiar bad feeling place. It doesn't make us good to be poor. It doesn't make us bad to be rich. It's resonance. It's a mechanical, predictable, isolatable, replicatable process. If you're in resonance, it's easier to receive what's around you at all times. Opportunities, surprise cash, which is our favorite, right? Surprise cash, that's the funnest. People reaching out to you for your services. You're a match to it. Like a tuning fork, you're in resonance with it. You're at the top of the water where the food is. You're not still and sluggish on the bottom of the river. So here's where we get tangled up, right? If we recognize we're still and sluggish on the bottom of the river and we're not where the food is, then we try to force ourselves up to the top. That doesn't work. You can force yourself up to the top, but you're still tethered to the bottom because that's unnatural. The natural process is to recognize you're on the bottom of the river and to feel that. Feel it in your body. Get curious about what needs to happen. What is that bottom of the river feeling asking for from you? Does it need a tissue and have a good cry? Does it need better food because it's at the bottom of the river because it's sugar drunk all the time and moody? Because It's your brain's disordered because of what you're putting in your body. These are facts. These aren't judgments. Do you need to grieve some losses that you've never actually fully grieved? It's asking for something from you, because the natural state is to bounce between bottom of the river, top of the river, bottom, middle, top, middle, bottom. You're never going to be always on the top. You're never going to be always on the bottom unless there's a need that's going unaddressed. All behavior has a purpose. All behavior has a purpose. Everything that you're doing, you have a reason for doing it, no matter how illogical it looks. All behavior has a purpose. Figure out what that purpose is. All behavior is trying to get a need met. Figure out what that need is and meet it, and then it's easier. You still have work to do. It's not easy to change behavior, but it's a whole fuck ton easier when you figure out and meet the need underneath the behavior that's driving the behavior. It has nothing to do with being good or bad. And it is never appropriate to force yourself from the bottom to the top. You also don't have to force yourself from the top to the bottom. If other people are sad around you, you don't have to join them at the bottom. You can feel the pull when you're around someone that's like a black hole trying to suck you in of negativity and pessimism and blah, blah, blah. You can feel that if you're paying attention. You don't have to follow it. Sometimes empaths feel like, well, they're not aware enough, and so they fall into resonance with the most negative person in the room. So if you practice daily staying aware of yourself, you don't fall into resonance unconsciously. You choose. You choose your resonance. That person is not bad because they're in a shit place. And you're not bad for falling into resonance with it. It's just you aren't taking control. And that's what she talks about, is care about how you feel. And I hear that as care about how you feel. Care for it. Love it. Practice compassionate curiosity with it. Care for it. Tend it. Meet its needs. You're only at the bottom of the river because you're at the bottom of the river. That's life. I think the sound is probably going to be shifting around a lot, as I have a new headset and I don't know that I love it. But my other one broke, and Amazon, you can never get the same thing you ordered a year ago. But okay, so if you're at the bottom of the river, pay attention and tend it. Care about how you feel, because how you feel is telling you where you're at. It's not telling you if you're good or bad. It's just telling you where you are. Oh, you're at the bottom of the river. Better have another cry over your cat. That's the one I've been doing all since my cat died. So here's another way resonance works. I can't hear and feel and be aware of my cat if I'm at the bottom of the river. But that doesn't, as a medium, like he's dead, but he's still here. Just like people are dead, but they're still here. And you can still hear them if you're in resonance, if you're at the top of the river, because they're free-floating, fast-moving energy. And they have to slow down for us to hear them. So the less they have to slow down, the more clear you can hear them, which means you got to come up. They come down a little bit, you come up a lot. So you can hear when you're open and relaxed more clearly than when you're down doing your heavy grief work. So that doesn't mean I recognize I'm at the bottom of the river because I'm grieving the cat, because I can't hear, feel, sense, be aware of him when I'm in the heavy grief of it. I don't make I can't hear Tonka now, I better get out of this grief. No, I can't hear Tonka now because we're just out of resonance, and I need to do this grieving because bodies miss bodies. The worst thing someone said to me after my dad died is, well, he's still here. You can still feel him. And I haven't spoken to that person since. It's cruel. It doesn't mean anything. And that's not why that one event is not why that relationship is fractured, but there's much more to it. But that was a kind of a final straw. So when I grieved my dad, I couldn't hear him. When I grieve my Tonka, I can't hear him because we're out of resonance. But if you force yourself to stop grieving so you can connect with them, it's not a good quality connection. Yeah, you can talk yourself out of your grief. You can force yourself to the top of the river and you can sort of hide it a little bit. But it's not pure. It's not as pure and wonderful as it can be. Then if you just let yourself recognize you're at the bottom of the river, do the crying, do the grieving, stay there for as long as you need to. When you're being when you're exercising compassionate curiosity and making space, holding space for yourself like you hold space for clients, it doesn't take very long. Your natural state is top of the river where the food is and the light and the warmth. It doesn't take long to bounce right back up there. She uses a cork bobbing on the water. If you let go of the cork, you'll pop back up to the top. But letting go means feeling the uncomfortable emotions. We like to skip that part. Oh, I'll just let go. Oh, I'll just ignore it. Oh, I'll just force myself to stop thinking about this. Then I don't feel sad. Then I'll be at the top. Then I'll get the money. You see how we skip the most important step because emotions are our power. Emotions are our. It's hard being from the South, y'all. Trying to get R and R, they sound exactly the same to me. Emotions are our power. They're our power. They're how we attract or don't attract. That's how we pull stuff to us or we push it away. We don't really push it away. We just keep it's out there away from us because we're not in resonance. Okay? It's just resonance. If you want to experience things that are by nature fast-moving, dynamic, flowing energy, then you also have to be fast-moving, dynamic, flowing energy. The more, I'm going to use the word pure, but again, there's no good or bad in that either. It's just you've got the hose on, you've got the water flowing full strength, or it's just a trickle when you turn the faucet on. But we can't handle full strength, and we are always trying to jump into full strength, but we've got to work our way up. So it's true that you have to work your way up from the bottom of the river to the top. And but here's the piece that always gets skipped. You work your way up by feeling the reality of what it is, by fully diving into and experiencing in your physical body the reality of what you're actually feeling. If you're actually feeling homicidal, then you're feeling that level of anger, and you own it and feel it and hold space for it without judgment, without trying to push. Oh, hurry up and get through this. We got to get to the top. We're going to miss out on all the food. Hurry up and finish being mad already. Or let me just eat some sugar real quick and then I don't have to feel mad. And then I'll be at the top, and then I'll get, do you see? It doesn't work. We get to the top in that state, we experience a fraction of what's available. A bare little trickle of what's available. So we're robbing ourselves of the full experience because we don't want to have the full experience of that which we call bad. Refusing to fully experience your sorrow is robbing you of a full expression in your life, the full expression of you, which is a river of all the things. Fast, slow, warm, cold, rocky, smooth, white water, calm water, all of it. All of it. I liken this to trying to go outside and only breathe certain particles of air. You're breathing all the air, and your lungs are handling it. We can breathe, air quote, all the emotions because we can handle it. And caveat to that is we can't handle it if our nervous system is not fluid and flexible and well toned and able to handle it. We can't handle it if we're not aware of what's happening. If we're drowning in the emotion instead of holding space for the emotion. It's just resonance. If I want to hear Tonka, if I want to sense my dad, if I want to sense the lady who lives in the house, the woman who last lived here, hangs out with the stray cats, if I want to be aware of her, then I have to be feeling at her level. I have to be energetically at her speed, which is fast, free, flowing. So I do dive into my grief because I know that diving in and holding space for my grief means that I'm going to get back up to speed where I can be aware that Tonka's here. Or my dad. Or my Aunt Lorraine. People who come and go. You can't pick up the phone, if you don't have a phone. Or you can pick up a phone, but it's not connecting to the tower. You're not going to hear the person on the other end. But it's not good or bad. That's what I really want you to hear that. It's not good or bad. And you can't rush it. You can't dive into your grief and go, okay, I'm going to dive into this grief because then I'm going to get up there faster and then I'll be able to get the money. That doesn't work because it's not true. It's not kind. It's really unkind to tell a kid to stop crying. It's the unkindest thing. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Stop crying. Stop crying. Stop talking. Don't back talk. All those things that make you choke back your energy. Right? When we invalidate, oh, it's not that bad. Oh, he's still here. You can still feel him. Well, you can't really. And bodies miss bodies. That's a different topic. Your body will grieve, because it can't hold the body or see the body or talk to the body that's gone. It's not the same. Your body grieves and your mind and your personality grieves. Those are two different things. So, when you dive in and really be with your grief or your rage or your whatever, your murderous impulses, dive into your hopelessness and despair. Not to hurry it up, speed this up, but to be like, what do you need? Oh my God, I feel I'm at the bottom of the river. I wanted to reach for sugar. I'm wanting to keep scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. I wonder what I really need right now. I wonder what in me or who in me is asking me to hold space for them. I wonder what I need to hold space for. I wonder what I need to show myself compassion about. I wonder what or who I need to be really present with right now. I wonder how I can handle these uncomfortable sensations of heavy grief or anger or rage in my body. I wonder how I can move with this energy that's so heavy and dark. I really don't know what to do with it. I wonder what I can do. I wonder how I can hold better space. I wonder how I can show more compassion. I wonder how I can activate more love for this part of myself that's in pain, laying down here at the bottom of the river. When you do that, you rise. It's not a forcing. It's not a pushing. It's not a judging. You're not creating more shadow parts. Nobody's getting thrown in the closet and get the door slammed on them. It's a natural float up to the surface where you have access to more light and more food and more spirits if you want to hear them and more awareness of your dead cat or dog if that's what you want. More access to money. More access to the things that are faster moving energy than what's at the bottom of the river. Do you understand? As if you can answer me. Do you get it? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? If we can separate this concept of good, bad, I'm a good person if I feel this way. I'm a bad person if I feel that way. Or I'm going to get what I want if I ignore all the bottom of the river stuff and force myself to stay at the top. That's a sham. It's a facade. It's fake. And people feel it. People know when someone is wearing a happy mask and they're a simmering pot of rage. Right? People know. People know when you're given a sales pitch with all the right words, but you're desperate to sign them because you need to pay the mortgage. People know. We feel it. We're not stupid. We're not blind. We feel it. We might not know what's making us uncomfortable, but we feel the dissonance. You can't fake it. This isn't an area where you can fake it till you make it. This is an area where the more compassion you apply, the faster you will rise. That's it. You're in resonance or you're not. You're a match to it or you're not. And neither one of those positions is good or bad. When you are in despair that your income is not what you want it to be or what it needs to be, you won't match up with as good as it can be. You might trickle in enough to barely make it through, but you won't open the floodgates. And you won't open the floodgates if your nervous system can't handle a flood of money, right? So that's a different topic. That's a nervous system, and there's some other podcast episodes that talk about that. There's one of preparing yourself for money now by training your nervous system. Of course, I can't remember the title to my own dang podcast episode. I don't remember which one it is. It's down, I don't remember. Just go look for it. You'll figure it out. Okay, that's all I have for you today. Play with that. And understand you're not going to get it all in a 32-minute podcast episode, but I just want to poke some holes in the belief systems out there that have equated this with good and bad and are confused why people who do what we call bad things have so much money. So it's about resonance. It's not about good or bad. If you feel good making money doing terrible things, you're going to have access to money because money is neutral. There's no morality in any of it. All right. Let's see. What do I have coming up for you? I have Human Design Foundation sessions open. thatmichellewolf.com/human design. The Forest Reiki energy healing modality is growing. I have several teachers now. I have more on the way. thatmichellewolf.com/Forest Reiki. And then my latest endeavor is a wraparound website build for building your website, providing the copy if you need it, or editing your copy, and really looking at the energetics of your website, making sure everything's in alignment. Most of that, not all of it's on the website yet, but it's at thewolfcodes.com. WOLFF codes.com. The Facebook page for that is facebook.com/thewolfcodes. Less Hustle, More Human Design won't start again until the fall. And then Loving Me Sugar-Free, loving ourselves through a sugar-free lifestyle so that you aren't moody and cranky and cloudy and foggy and having joint pain and all the crap that comes with sugar. You really can get off sugar. This is all my commercial part, so if you're done listening, you can go ahead and hang up or press stop. But you really can get off sugar in a way that's much more gentle. It's not going to be painless because it's not. It's an addictive substance that acts like a poison in your body. So it's not like we're going to demonize sugar. Again, there's no good or bad. We're going to look at the facts of how it's impacting you, and we're going to there's a slow getting off of sugar path, and there's a cold turkey path. For me, the only thing that works is cold turkey. And we're going to talk about both. And we're going to talk about how to work with your nervous system to get that sugar out of your mouth So it's not impacting your entire life. That's coming up, next week. So thatmichellewolf.com/loving me. Just go to the website. Everything's right there at the top. Love y'all so much. Until we meet again, think less, feel more. I'll talk to you later.